How's it going, YouTube? Toon Raider here. Welcome to the Dragon Discourse. This is episode 1 of what is planned to be a monthly series. Of course, I'm joined with my co-host, I Do Name. Say what's up, I Do Name.
What's going on?
Some of you may know him from our old days of video content creation. I was really a variety channel back then. Of course, since I've singled in on Dragon Ball, he's still doing his thing over on his channel, link in the description. And he also streams on Twitch. You still streaming on Twitch, Name?
Yeah, every now and then.
Every now and then. So today we're going to be talking about the future of Dragon Ball concerning Super, Daima, Sparking Zero, as well as touching on the legacy of Akira Toriyama. So to start us off, let's talk about Akira Toriyama. That seems like the most relevant thing to talk about. That was a recent tragedy to happen to the fandom. I can't remember where I was when I found out Toriyama passed away, but it was a big deal. Like, that gut-wrenching feeling. Did you get that gut-wrenching feeling, too, where you were like, there's no way?
Yeah, and you're the one that told me, too. So, I mean, you're the one that told me and how I found out.
It was hard to believe. You hear, like, these celebrity deaths, and I never understood it myself. Like, people say, oh, no, I can't believe Robin Williams or whoever passed away. I'm never going to be able to enjoy comedy the same way. And it never hit me like that until Akira Toriyama passed away. And then it hit me like that, and I'm like, oh, no. You know?
Yeah, I think the last time I felt something like that was when Etiquette passed away.
Yeah, that was...
It was like the closest thing to it.
Yeah, that was crazy, too. So, with Akira Toriyama's passing, what do you think is going to be the future of... Well, we know in the immediate future, we're getting Daima, Sparking Zero's coming, Super's on a break, we don't know when it's coming back or what that next arc will be, but what do you envision for the future of Dragon Ball, just as a franchise in general?
For me, I'm really hoping they go on with Super. I mean, I heard that, before he passed away, that there was talk of him bringing Super back, like they were working on bringing it back, but then again, the manga is not even really too far past the Tournament of Power, so it's really limited on what they can do there because we don't want another thing happening where they do what they did with Zamasu, like how they changed the story on it a little bit because it wasn't finished.
Yeah, I mean, I understand, like, wanting Super to come back ASAP. And trust me, I wanted to come back ASAP as well. But then when you actually break down the numbers and you think about it, if Super came back, we would probably have, like, a time period where it's adapting the Moro arc, and that's going well. And then the Granola arc's going well, but then it catches up to whatever's happening next, and then we'd be in the same situation before. I think that would only happen if it's a weekly release, which I'm pretty sure it would have to be, considering it's Toei doing it, and that's what they do. But part of me envisions a world where we have an anime of Super like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure or something, where it's like seasonal, Like they release one season at a time, like maybe 20 episodes of Moro, 20 episodes of Granola. What do you think about that? Do you think that would work?
That'd be really interesting, actually, because they've kind of never done it that way.
Yeah.
At least for me, because I've never really watched it as it was coming out, besides Super, and it really wasn't like that. They were just kind of pushing them out every week.
Yeah, and do you remember?
And you could really tell.
Yeah, you could. Do you remember this? I'm going to ask you this. I know you remember, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Do you remember whenever the Tournament of Power in Dragon Ball Super started, and we didn't know it was the last arc, and then I forgot what episode it was exactly, but so many episodes into the Tournament of Power, they were like, and this is the final arc, and this is the final episode. I was like, what? You're taking it away already? We're only 130 episodes in. I thought we would be going like 300 episodes. Do you remember that moment, and what was that like?
Yeah, that was stressful because, like you said earlier, I'm one of those people who really, wanted the anime to keep going, even though it wasn't necessarily its time, and it could have definitely been a lot better if it would have just waited. But I don't know. I'm one of those people who are also impatient, and I still enjoyed the anime a lot, even though they did, end it on kind of a,
A
I would say it was
a
a
weird note.
cliffhanger, but I mean, it was just, there was a lot still like that fans wanted to know where they left it off.
You could
And
tell.
then,
Like I was watching it back the other day, and you could tell they left it off at a point where there is a lot left unsaid. Like the arc ends, Goku and Vegeta go to fight, and then I think the narrator said something about plenty more whenever they return or something like that. And I thought,
yeah,
is this
but
just a break?
that's what I thought too. And usually they'll even do kind of like an episode after, where they're celebrating and eating and doing like just kind of goofing off or whatever. They did it for, Cell, Majin Buu. Even did it on Beerus kind of with, the party going on. They still like had their little fun moment after that. So I kind of expected that at the end of it, but then they just kind of cut it off with Goku and Vegeta doing their stance, sparring,
Yeah,
which was still cool.
it was cool.
But
Don't get me wrong. Yeah, it was cool. And
we got a comment from Brandon. He says, "Hey,
what's up, Brandon? It's nice to have you here in the podcast
welcome to the
stream.
stream."
If you have any questions or anything to add to the conversation, be sure to leave it in the comments. I do name. We'll go ahead and read it, and we'll add it to the conversation. But it's crazy that when did Super ended in 2018, right? Like 6 years ago. That's crazy. We've been waiting 6 years for the anime to return, you could say.
Yeah, March 25th, 2018 was the last episode.
And we've had like the Super Broly movie and then the superhero movie. But, for me and you, we've really been keeping up with the manga. So in some ways, it's like Super hasn't left our lives in a way. It's interesting because you hear some people are like, bring back the anime. We want Super. What do you make of that? Do you think that we're at a point now as fans where we're just kind of content to get the manga? And if we never got the anime back, what do you think that would be like?
I think it would bring a lot of, I don't know, it'd bring a lot of discourse between the community because there's a lot of people who don't even keep up with the manga. And I mean, I'm sure that's not even close to the majority, but there are people who just, keep up with the show and people who don't even know.
You have
What's
no
going on if
idea
it wasn't
how
for the
many
movies.
people I've talked to just in my day-to-day that say, like at work the other day, I met this guy and he was like super into Dragon Ball, and I'm like, oh cool, are you keeping up with the manga? He was like, no, I'm gonna wait for the anime to come back and watch it. Like, there's a lot of people that's their default setting. They don't like. For me, as a Dragon Ball fanboy, I can't separate that in my mind and just say I'm not going to read it because it's been like 6 years of manga material. I can't just let that sit there and ignore it and wait for the anime to come back. I have to read it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's how I am too. I'll always go back to the manga, especially once I started getting into it in the Granola art, or not even the Granola art, it was the Moro art. I thought it was badass.
Yeah, the Moro arc was cool.
And another thing I want to talk about is the CGI animation in the last movie. A lot of people didn't like it at all. Like there was a lot of hate on that. What was your opinion on it?
My opinion on this CGI animation was, like you said, very trepidatious at first. I wasn't sure how to feel about it. And then as we got more information on it and we got the trailers, I was like, this may take some getting used to, but I'm sure as we get into it, it'll look a lot smoother. And real quick, one other comment I need to make about this because it's very important. Whenever it was announced that they were going to be experimental with the animation, a lot of people assumed it was going to be CG. But they thought it would be CG like the CG in Dragon Ball Super Broly or the Dragon Ball Z movies, where it's like 2D animation, but then you get that real quick CG scene and it looks like a video game cutscene. And so people were thinking, we're going to have a full movie like that. But I was very happy with the movie that came out because it was not like a video game. The animation was solid.
Yeah, I agree. I loved the way they did it. Like honestly, you could tell it was CGI, but it wasn't the CGI I was used to. They did a really good job at like still keeping the Dragon Ball kind of art style along with it.
Yeah,
and not like just changing it up to not be what it is.
Yeah, like the backgrounds and everything like that was great as well. The 3D character models were great. It was really good. If I had one complaint about Superhero, again, I loved the film, but if we're going to be a little bit critical here, my one complaint about Superhero was we probably could have cut the Goku and Vegeta scenes. I know they were important because it just reminds fans, hey, Goku does exist. You can put Goku in the promotional material, but really, when you think about it, they weren't really necessary to the plot. But I guess, let me retract that statement. I guess they were necessary to the plot to explain why they weren't necessary to be in the movie. Like, you know, we got everything else going on Earth. They're off on Beerus's planet doing their thing. What did you think about that aspect of putting Gohan at the forefront of Superhero? And where do you think we'll see Gohan in the future of Super?
Oh man, I definitely think Gohan is going somewhere. I don't know. I don't really know where they're going with him because, you know, at the end of Z, before we even got Super, you know, Gohan was just kind of a boring dude. He quit training and became a family man and started studying all the time. And now they're kind of changing it up where he starts training again because, you know, he wants to protect Pan in case his dad, you know, something happened to his dad or Vegeta or them. And I kind of like where it's heading because it seems like they're going to make him be the strongest in the series almost because him keeping up with Ultra Instinct Goku and the manga.
That was highly
was
controversial.
cool.
The community was very split on that. Go ahead.
Yeah, and it's really hard to say whether or not that's like too big of a power boost because, you know, he did the training with the Grand Kai. I can't remember what he's called. The Grand Kai, Supreme Kai, the Old Supreme Kai.
Elder Kai,
And,
that's what I
you know,
call him. That's the dub
Nobody
name
knows exactly what that power is or whatever. And
well, here's what I'll say. I'll say this. This needs to be said. I'll say this. How long have we been told, as Dragon Ball fans, that Gohan is the strongest? Repeatedly, throughout the series. Dragon Ball Z, you and I, we both know. We grew up playing the Dragon Ball Z games. Everything that we know about Dragon Ball was that Gohan has this limitless potential, the potential to surpass Goku. He has this power inside him like a sleeping beast waiting to be awoken. And I feel like Superhero awoke that sleeping beast, but that's not the first time it's been awoke. That's not the first time we've seen it come out. We've seen it with Cell. We saw it with Raditz. So this is something of Gohan that's been going on for years. Even in Dragon Ball Super, he finally became relevant again with the Tournament of Power arc. But it just makes sense to me. I don't understand why some fans have a problem with a sudden power boost with Gohan. It makes sense because
it's always made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because he's half human, and humans are more emotional than Saiyans, so it makes sense for Goku and Vegeta to have a lot harder of a time getting those power boosts because
they have a harder
kind of different
way of
because,
accessing those emotions.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
it makes a lot of sense for him to get a big ass power boost from Pan getting fucking murdered or whatever, you know, whatever happens. It just makes a lot of sense for him to have way bigger of a boost because he has human emotion, and we all know how dramatic humans can be.
Yeah, I was watching Super the other day, like just a clip from Super, and there is a really cool part. Again, this was, I think, the Jiren fight with Goku near the end of the series, and Jiren's like, your whole universe is going to be gone, starts insulting his family or something like that, his friends. And then there's that really cool moment, I know you probably know exactly what I'm talking about, whenever Goku just like, how dare you talk about my family or something like that, and he just blasts off and hits Jiren right in the face, and you get that really cool animation shot of Goku just his fist right in Jiren's face. So we're not saying that Goku can't access those emotions. It just takes a lot more for Goku to get there. Whereas with Gohan, like you saw with the Superhero movie, like Pan was just being held up by Piccolo disguised as a Red Ribbon Army soldier, and Gohan started to flip, you know?
Yeah, he was not risking his daughter dying. He's like, all right, time to go beast mode. Well, he didn't go beast mode, but he went Super Saiyan 2, right? Or Ultra. What's it called?
I think it was Super Saiyan. I think he first went into Super Saiyan and then Ultimate.
Yeah, Ultimate. I kept on thinking Ultimate was Ultra for some reason.
Well, you remember when we were kids, and I think it was also called Ultimate in the games, but Mystic was also a name out there. Do you remember that? Like, just hearing Mystic?
Mystic Gohan.
Yeah, I thought, is it Mystic? No. Is it Ultimate? But the most recent Super chapter canonized Ultimate. Before that, apparently it was just only a name in the games, but the recent chapter canonized the Ultimate name.
I like the Ultimate name. It's fitting.
It's fitting because you go from especially Ultimate mode to Beast mode.
Yeah.
And Beast mode is a saying. Like, before he got access to the Beast transformation and I heard it was going to be called Beast, I was a bit hesitant. But now I can say Beast mode, and it sounds funny, makes sense, and is cool.
Yeah, it aged well for sure. I like the name Beast.
Yeah, and as far as UI and UE go with Goku and Vegeta, I think what we saw from the recent chapter, going into the future of Super, I'm pretty sure they'll have to have Gohan along for the ride, right? Like, there's no way they just leave Gohan in the dust, especially with these epilogue chapters that we got. Of like, just they were here specifically to show us Gohan is on Goku's level now, which in turn means he's on Vegeta's level now. What do you make of that? Do you think that he'll be relevant just as much as Goku and Vegeta going forward? Or do you think we're in a situation where, okay, Gohan had his time to shine, all right, now let's put him back in the toy box?
That's actually really funny because, it's hard to say because they do it a lot.
Yeah.
Like how he literally was the strongest in the Cell arc. At the end of the Cell arc, he was the strongest fighter. And then, he just kind of ended up living a life of peace and forever. He went to school and he was still strong as hell, but, he softened up a little bit. And it's untelling, really, if he's going to do that again. I don't think they're going to do that with him because they've done too much keeping him up with Goku and them, and I think they're just trying to avoid the hate they got for the Resurrection of Ed fight that he had. Like, that was god-awful.
That was okay.
And, we don't want another situation like that.
Yeah, let's open that wound up again, just briefly. I won't open it up too much. Let's open it up just briefly.
Hang on, we got a comment.
All right,
was
what's
it
the
Trunks
comment?
and Goten who named it Ultimate, or was it Piccolo?
It was Trunks and Goten, I'm pretty sure. Piccolo did Orange Piccolo. I think he also do Beast? I can't remember. But I know Goten and Trunks said that they call it Ultimate just as a fun name. Like, and Gohan was like, Ultimate? What are you talking about? And Trunks was like, Ultimate, because you're going Ultimate mode, or something like that.
Yeah. Brandon said, hey, don't forget Frieza Black.
Yeah, we were going to get to that. I wanted to address the protagonist, but Frieza Black is a big presence going forward. Again, let's go back to the end of Super. Frieza comes back 6 years ago. Again, this was 2018. So long ago, Frieza came back, okay? And then we got Super Broly. Frieza's in that movie. He's plotting against Goku and Vegeta. And for a while, I was like, is this what they're going to be doing with Frieza? Is he just a plot device to pull Broly back into the story? And then Frieza's going to go off, like I said, back into the toy box. Maybe we'll get him. Again, it did turn out to be many years after that we got Frieza back as a central villain. Go ahead.
Am I the only one that feels like that was kind of out of character for Frieza to just bring another Saiyan, the fuck up the two guys he wants revenge on the most?
Out of character?
You know what I mean?
I don't know. I thought it made sense because this is a guy who's not above the most heinous cheating,
True.
He will make the most out of any situation. He'll turn any situation to his advantage. So to me, it made sense that he hates these Saiyans, but he's going to use them to kill the Saiyans that he also hates. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense when you put it like that. Yeah.
And speaking,
For sure.
and yeah, so whenever we're addressing the black Frieza in the room, instead of the elephant in the room, it's the black Frieza in the room. I feel like it's important to address that Dragon Ball Super has not had a good time with villains. The anime, at least. The manga had some good villains with the Heater Gang and Moro. But if we're talking specifically the Super anime, we're not going to count Battle of Gods and Resurrection F because those were adaptations of the Dragon Ball Z movies. It feels a little wrong for me to just include Beerus and Frieza as super villains because, they're just adaptations from the Z movies. So putting those aside, we got Goku Black and Zamasu. Very cool villains. I like those guys a lot. And then we got, I think that was just like, again, right into the Tournament of Power, and there were no real villains in the Tournament of Power. Like Jiren is just he's not a bad guy. He's just an antagonist. He's just another person that they're fighting. He's not really a villain. Yeah. So when you think about it,
it's hard to really say anyone was a bad guy besides like Frost because he's just another Frieza.
Yeah. Oh, you just reminded me. I forgot to include the Universe 6 versus Universe 7 tournament in the original Super content. So I forgot to count that. But still, when you count that, who's the villain in that? Like, Frost. He's like the only...
I don't even know. Yeah, I was going to say, because Hit was more like a rival kind of character.
Yeah, he's just a hired gun. There's not like a very powerful villain presence to him. Anyway, all this to say, we had the Super manga, and say what you will, I remember whenever Moro was coming out monthly, people were railing against Moro, saying he was a Cell copycat. And then when the Granola arc came out, I really like Granola, side tangent. I really like Granola as a character, but it became apparent that he wasn't the central villain of the Granola arc. The actual villain of the Granola arc turned out to be the Heaters. And they were kind of on the weak side because I feel like they were kind of trying to fake us out with making us think Granola was the villain. But then going into like the ending of that, we get Black Frieza out of nowhere. Just completely out of nowhere. Utterly decimates Gas, and Gas just withers to bones because Gas can't keep up, and he's just down for the count. And then Black Frieza's like, Goku and Vegeta, I'm going to let you guys live just because you're not my primary target here. Like, imagine he gets to that level.
So ruthless.
Yeah, he just gets to that level where he's like so powerful, he's like, you're not even worth my time. What did you think of that moment?
I thought it was funny because it's something I've always wondered is why don't they just abuse the time room? And then Frieza does it. But of course he found a different one that's more OP. But I've always wondered why they don't, I guess, spend more time training in the time room. And then they finally used that on a villain. And I didn't think they'd use it on Frieza, but the fact that they did is crazy. Because, it's something Frieza would 100% do. He never knew about it, and the second he found out about it,
he's just going to abuse
advantage of it.
Yeah, and
the fact that he didn't just, like, show off to them and just says, you know what, y'all are little ants, I'm going to let y'all live, was even more funny.
Yeah, dude, that was insane. So, like, let's take it back in time real quick. We're still talking about Black Frieza, but let's take it back in time to Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F with Golden Frieza. Remember this? Do you remember there was a time in our lives before Super, before Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F, where Frieza was gone. He was completely irrelevant. He was just this villain from Dragon Ball Z, and we moved on from him. He came back a couple times in the movies where I think it was Gohan that beat him in the Wrath of the Dragon movie. I think that was it. No, it was Fusion Reborn. Fusion Reborn where the gates of hell kind of break loose or something, and all the villains come back, and Gohan basically easily defeats Frieza like he's nothing, right? There was a time where Frieza was just, what's it called, like a jobber or something? Like, he's just like, our heroes are so, like, past him now, like, it doesn't matter about Frieza. So, let's take it back in time. What was it like for you whenever Frieza came back in Resurrection F? And did you get any feelings like then that you got whenever he came back in the ending of the Granola arc? Because I know, for me, I'm kind of getting in that same mindset of, what the heck? Frieza's back?
Yeah, for me, I thought the Resurrection of F movie was really good. Obviously, there were some parts about it I hated, like, Gohan's
Yep.
part, but, the way they did Frieza made a lot of sense because, he got a big ass power boost and he wanted to exact his revenge, and that's exactly what I would picture him doing, and then he fucked up. But he still, he still won technically, but thanks to Whis and Beerus, they did the times rewind and saved it. But he would have won that using his fucked up methods, destroying the earth and shit,
Yeah.
if it wasn't for that. And that's something that Frieza 100% would do. And yeah, I like what they did with that. I thought the movie was great because of like just that. And I had that feeling like, before it even happened, like, damn, is this really it? Like, is this all he can do after all this time? They really brought him back just to end him off right here, and then he did that, and it was like, okay, that kind of brought a lot more suspense to the movie, and kind of saved it in a way, I guess.
Yep. Now, you mentioned something, great point there. You brought me back to Vegeta whenever he was about to get the kill on Golden Frieza, and now we have Black Frieza. Do you think? Because I'm glad that we've had Frieza back since the Tournament of Power, and he's had a presence in the Granola arc, and of course he's likely going to be the next big villain coming up in the Super manga when it returns. Do you think Vegeta will get the kill on Black Frieza, and what do you think would happen, like, as a result of that? Like, how would the community respond? Your thoughts?
Damn, I really personally don't think that they're gonna kill Frieza off again.
Whoa. You don't think? Okay, go ahead.
I don't. Listen. I think if they do, it's gonna be something that they build up to for a long time because, like you just said earlier, what happened after Frieza died? He was reused as like just this kind of, you know what I mean? Like you said, he was used in multiple movies, and every time he was used, he got
owned, completely
every single time.
destroyed.
He wasn't in the movie for more than a few minutes every single time. So, I don't think they're gonna want to do that with him again. And they kind of saw the potential he had because he was, the OG villain. Everybody liked him. He was, didn't give no fucks, and people missed that. The closest thing to him was probably Cell, just in terms of like intellect and that. And then Majin Buu was cool, but he was just kind of like not intellectual, so you didn't really get much from him besides destruction and yelling and power. Not counting the one that, absorbed everybody. That shit was kind of interesting. But
yeah, you bring up a good point there, with that there. So, getting into the future of Super.
We got a comment.
Go ahead. Let's read this. What's the comment? Let's hear it.
Genuine says, well, isn't Frieza still obsessed with Earth, and now Gohan is the new protector? So I feel like Gohan could probably be the one to beat him. All right. Actually, really.
Let's go ahead and tackle that. Who left that comment? That's a great comment. Who left that comment?
Genuine.
Thank you for the genuine comment. That was a very good comment to add to the discussion. Isn't
We've got
Vegeta?
a few comments, but I've not been able to keep up because we've been talking.
All right, that's fine. So isn't Frieza obsessed with Earth? I would argue, is he obsessed with Earth or is he obsessed with the Saiyans on Earth? That's what I would argue, because
he's definitely obsessed with destroying Earth, I'd say.
Has he shown that much of an... Yeah, that's a great point. He would be fascinated with destroying Earth simply because it's the home of the Saiyans, the new home. That's a great... Who left that comment? That's it. That's the next story right there. Genuine, that's great. That's the next arc of Super right there. Frieza coming after Earth because it's the new planet of the Saiyans. He knows that's where to strike at the Saiyans. Who's on Earth? Beast Gohan. And remember, the last chapter of Super, we heard what? Goku said that he's satisfied knowing that Gohan is the new protector of Earth.
You know how badass it would be to have a Gohan versus Frieza rematch?
Yes.
And not be bad?
Yes, dude. This is it.
Oh.
This is it. That's a great...
That would actually be so good.
Genuine, you made a genuinely good comment. Give yourself a pat on the back. That was a great comment. Iduname, you got anything you want to add to that?
No, besides that would be awesome. Like as an actual thing that they did. I wish that they would.
Yeah.
Maybe they are. You never know. It might be leading up to it. There's a lot going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, let's get behind the scenes a little bit. But before we get behind the scenes a little bit, are there any other comments we need to address before we move on from the Frieza of it all?
Let's see. These are from about 10 minutes ago or 20 minutes ago. So I don't think so.
Okay.
If there's anything that you guys do want us to talk about that we skipped because we were talking earlier, just ask us again and we'll...
Again, guys, this is a podcast. It's a live podcast, open forum. Feel free to add to the discussion. Moving on from Frieza for now, because I'm sure he'll come back up. Moving on from Frieza for now, like you said, there's probably some stuff going on behind the scenes. Getting back to the Toriyama of it all with his recent passing, do you think there was some sort of outline of the next arc that he wrote? Or do you think they're kind of taking this month break for Toyotaro to come up with something? What do you think?
So that I'm really not sure on that because it's really just hard to say. I feel like they've Toriyama for sure had laid out a lot, but in terms of past that, they might still need a break to figure out what they're gonna do to not mess up the series. Because that's one thing that everyone would just hate is if they just ruined Dragon Ball from, past Toriyama's passing. If it just started going downhill instead of up, everyone would, put that hate on
Toyotaro?
Who you said is, Toyotaro. And, I'm sure that he's feeling that stress and shit. So he's got to, make sure he does everything right with the story. So it's really untelling what they're gonna do with the story, or I don't have any ideas of what they could do.
Yeah, real quick.
Besides, go ahead.
I was going to say, real quick, let me mention Toyotaro's comment, if I can pull it up here, of what he said about Toyotaro. I can't pull it up right now, but he said something along the lines of, Toriyama-sensei was my reason to draw manga. He was my everything. So, I remember it was brief, but it was very heartfelt. So, I think if... Go ahead.
I was going to say, I can read the comment.
Yeah, go ahead and read it. Read it for us live.
Okay. Let me find it. I thought I found it, but...
Okay, well, while you pull that up, I'm going to make my point, and then when you get it, you can just interject and read it.
Go ahead.
So, if we're taking that into account of Toyotaro, what he said, and we also remember before he did Super, he did his own Dragon Ball fan fiction called Dragon Ball AF. Of course, after he went and joined Super as the artist and also writes some things, he doesn't write everything, he writes some things in Super. He's also working with an editorial team, so he can't do fan fiction like he did in AF, like how he just gave Pan and Bola Super Saiyan out of nowhere and things like that. He's not going to be able to do that. But I think that's a nice framework to look at how long he's been a heartfelt, genuine fan and how into Dragon Ball he's been for a long time. So I think moving forward without Toriyama, whether or not Toriyama did leave notes behind for the future of Super, I think we're in a good spot.
Yeah, for sure. I 100% don't have any, what would be the word? I don't think it's going to head towards a bad direction, even though, Toriyama passed away and it won't be, written by him anymore besides what he's already laid out.
Yeah.
But hopefully he can, still keep Toriyama's vision, and the fact that Toriyama was such an inspiration to him makes me feel like he'll do his best to not mess it up.
Yeah, because, imagine being Toyotaro and making Dragon Ball fan fiction, and then Toriyama chooses you to be his successor and to help him bring Dragon Ball back into the manga. Like, could you imagine just being Toyotaro in that moment? You're creating fan fiction, Dragon Ball AF. You think you're having a good time. And then you get hired to do Heroes because it was Heroes that he did after AF. So it was the Dragon Ball Heroes manga. And then from Heroes, he gets chosen to do Dragon Ball Super. I want to know your opinion just on that whole thing. What do you think about that?
I definitely think that's a big honor, in my opinion. Like, for me, that would be like one of my favorite YouTubers, asking me to edit videos for him because they saw a video of mine and thought it was that good. You know what I mean? It would just it'd make me happy as hell. So the fact that happened to him and stuff, I don't feel like he's gonna ruin the series at all.
No, I would.
For sure.
I think. Go ahead.
Oh, you're fine. I was just gonna say he's definitely gonna do stuff that we've been wanting to happen for a long time. Things that like a lot of people want the end of Z, kind of like they want to.
Yeah, I'm guilty of this.
Know what Toriyama's vision was for
exactly.
that
I'm
because
guilty of this.
His vision got changed. Yeah, I'm exactly that way. So it's interesting to think, he could know Toriyama's vision and make a movie on it, even, just a movie or a side series based on it, and it not have anything to do with Super. But I think that would be really cool. I would watch it personally.
Yeah, I would watch it too. We can't talk about the future of Super without mentioning GT. Like you said, going past the end of the Z, I never really had. Okay, again, rewind time, everybody. Let's rewind a little bit here. This is still
Dragon Ball Z Kai Toriyama's version.
It was more closer
Genuine
to Toriyama's version. Genuine. Thank you for the comment, Genuine. Dragon Ball Z Kai was closer to Toriyama's version of Dragon Ball because it was supposed to be closer to the manga, and like in terms of cutting filler and making things flow a lot better. Because if you read the manga, the action flows very well. The action flows in the manga like flawlessly. I grew up with the Dragon Ball Z anime, as I do named it, of course. And whenever you're watching the Dragon Ball Z anime, you really like it, but there's also a lot of like downtime, like charging up, fighting, things like that. The Dragon Ball Z Kai did a good job of cutting out a lot of filler and a lot of those charging up moments, screaming moments, things like that.
You saying that reminds me of the fucking Super Saiyan 3 Goku scream. It was like 2 episodes.
It took
like
so long. Yeah. Yeah.
That was awesome, though.
Yeah, it was definitely.
On it
yeah. Yeah, so yeah, Dragon Ball Z Kai is closer to Toriyama's vision of Dragon Ball Z as he originally intended it to be. But getting back into Dragon Ball GT, like I said, this question of what happens after the end of Z, that's not really a question I had when I was a kid because we knew, and it was Dragon Ball GT. So now going forward, of course, Dragon Ball GT likely no longer canon. I don't see how it could fit at this point in time.
Is it though? Because at the end of Z, he gets on Shenron, and at GT, he's an adult, and he's like, I mean, I guess he's wearing the blue, so it makes sense.
Did he get on Shenron at the end of Z?
It just doesn't add up. Yeah, at the end of Z, he gets on Shenron, and he absorbs all the Dragon Balls.
I think that was
the last scene of Dragon Ball Z.
I thought that was the last episode of Dragon Ball GT because it didn't in the end of Z. He just gets on Nimbus with Oob and go with him toward his village.
Yeah, you're right. I've got it mixed up.
Oh snap! Right. He had it mixed up, but yeah. So actually, you make a great point though, bringing up the end of Z itself and Super. I think we're gonna have to pull in Oob into Super at some point. He's been mentioned several times in Dragon Ball Super. This is a great thing you mentioned, Outer Name. I'm glad you brought this up. Oob has been mentioned several times in Dragon Ball Super. I made a video on this called, I think it was called Oob, the Next God of Destruction or something like that. We don't need to like necessarily get into the weeds with this theory, but wouldn't it be interesting if they brought Oob back at this point? Do you think they could bring Oob back in this Black Frieza arc, or do you think that's something they would actually, I guess that depends on if they want to make the Black Frieza arc after the end of Z or before the end of Z. What do you think about all that?
It would definitely be interesting if like they did something where, Goku I can see Goku just straight up going up to Oob and being like, yo, you're the only one who can fight this Frieza guy. Like I'm too old for it. I'm gonna just have to teach you to do it. You know what I mean? Kinda like how he did with with Gohan and Cell. You're the only one who can do it, son. Top thing. I feel like that's kind of where it would go. That's just my opinion though. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not exactly like that, but I just feel like if Goku, for some reason, didn't... Goku would get more of a hard-on from watching Oob beat Frieza up than him beating Frieza up, if that makes sense. That's the way I see it.
I think that does make sense. I think that does make sense there. Okay.
And he's getting to the point where he can be a master. You know what I mean? He's been a student for so long. It's weird that they haven't done something like that with him.
Yeah,
during like besides with the end of Z.
And what is it that they say, like Goku transitioning to the blue gi at the end of Z is supposed to be symbolic of him no longer being a student?
Symbolic of that's what I heard too, and I agree with that. That makes a lot of sense because he always has wore gis with his trainer's symbols on it or whatever, and that gi was blue and had nothing.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. I think that's what they were going for. It might not have been, but that's what I see.
Yeah, so I do think...
we got comments.
All right, let's hear them.
Hopefully Daima is not underwhelming. I heard people saying Capsule Corp's Goku was canon in Heroes, but I don't know if it's true.
All right. Yeah, I guess we can transition to Daima and then switch back and forth between Daima and Super. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into Daima a little bit here. What was the comment again? Hopefully Daima's not underwhelming. Well,
that's my opinion on it too.
Yeah,
I've already talked to you about that.
Yeah, here's what I'll say about Daima, and then you can get into your thoughts on Daima just based off what we know so far, and then we'll go from there. But here's the truth. Here's the truth. I'm just gonna lay it out as I see it. Take it or leave it. Daima was announced at, I think it was New York Comic Con late last year. And I remember the question being in the air. Is this Dragon Ball Magic rumor that we've heard, is that what we're getting? Or are we getting the Dragon Ball Super anime back? Of course, Magic turned out to be Daima. We know Magic was Daima because Akio Ioku, the producer, said that they didn't finalize the name until days before the event. So we know Magic was Daima. So, that being said, is it what I wanted? No. I wanted Super to be back. I think, just one consistent story. Give us Dragon Ball Super back in the anime form. Ideally, I would have had it like I was telling you earlier, like a 20-episode season 1 year, 20-episode season another year, maybe take a break 1 or 2 years, let the manga get ahead, then do 20 more episodes, things like that. But
like My Hero. My Hero does that.
Exactly like My Hero. That's exactly what I was thinking of. But that being said, as we have moved forward and as we have gotten past the initial hurdle of that Daima announcement, and real quick, I just want to get this out there. I know the Dragon Ball Daima announcement did not hit as hard as Dragon Ball Super's announcement. I looked at the analytics. It looks like a little blip compared to Super's analytics of whenever it was announced, which is a giant spike in engagement. But, of course, that was also because Super came out at a time where there was no Dragon Ball anime. So it did have that advantage of being the first Dragon Ball anime out in years. So I'll give Super that advantage there. But when we're addressing Daima and we're thinking about just like how is this going to work cohesively with the manga of Super, does this lower Super's chances of being made into an anime? We'll address that. But real quick, I want to say, going past this little hurdle of the Daima anime being announced, I'm kind of more comfortable with the idea of Daima if it's not going to lower Super's chances of being animated. And also, knowing what we know behind the scenes, that Toriyama was deeply involved with this to the point where he was writing scripts, he did all the character designs. I'm pretty excited for it. What do you think, Aduname?
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm 100% excited for it and willing to give it a chance. And I think a lot of people should go into it with that mindset because, it'll be a while probably before Super comes out, especially after Toriyama's passing. They have to, figure shit out. So, this Dragon Ball Daima show could honestly just be a placeholder to kind of do something fun and keep something Dragon Ball out there while they're working on the show and figuring things out.
That's a
If you
good
know what I
point.
mean.
Yeah, because I think they did say 40th anniversary of Dragon Ball. I know there was one report, I don't know if it's entirely accurate, but there was one report basically saying that Dragon Ball Daima was going to be like a 20 episode series just to commemorate the 40th anniversary of Dragon Ball. Again, it is actively in development. Plans could change. If it's a success, they may extend it. Also, if that rumor is false, and it could just be false, and it's not a 20 episode anime, and it's meant to be airing weekly, because I want your thoughts on this. Do you remember whenever it was rumored that Magic was going to be a streaming anime, and it was going to be on like Crunchyroll or something like that? And then I think it was confirmed not too long ago that it's actually going to be on Fuji TV, just like Dragon Ball Super was. Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, it's crazy because everybody was like, "Oh, not the super anime, the streaming series. It's going to be a streaming series. It's going to be for kids." Blah blah blah. A lot of different opinions on that, and then we just had this news report that it's going to be a weekly series on Fuji TV, which then, of course, would mean it'll probably be on Adult Swim Toonami's block, just like Super was. What do you think about that? Do you think that it will change people's perception of how important Daima will be if it's, like I said, I don't want to say it's taking Super's slot, but it's definitely, at least, in the very least, temporarily occupying that slot Super once filled on Adult Swim's Toonami block. What do you think about all that?
That's definitely something I don't really know. I don't like. I feel like it would have been better to have it the way they did Super. Just kind of have it like it's on Super. It was on Adult Swim. I'm not sure what else it was on, but
It was on
aired
Crunchyroll, like
on.
translated on Crunchyroll with English subtitles. I think the next day. But go ahead.
Yeah, you're right. It was, and I don't know. I feel like they definitely should do what they did with Super. I don't know. I've never used Fuji TV, their software, or the way that works. So I'm not sure how good it is.
It's like a channel in Japan. It's like you hear the Team 4-star Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, all by Funimation, Toei Animation, Fuji TV, and Akira Toriyama. So it's like right there with.
Oh yeah.
It's like the original home of Dragon Ball. It's like there's not. It's not like a streaming service. It's just like how we have Adult Swim or Cartoon Network. And
they
stuff.
own Crunchyroll, don't they? Or...
No, I think Crunchyroll is its own thing. I know Crunchyroll consumed Funimation, so Funimation is now.
That's a big deal right now.
Yeah, because
of their app.
Yeah, let's go ahead and open that real quick. I wasn't going to mention it. I was going to keep things civil today. But you mentioned it. We're talking about the future of Dragon Ball, so let's talk about the future of Funimation as well, English-speaking fans.
Yeah, because a lot of people, including me, I used to watch Dragon Ball Super when it was coming out. I used to buy Funimation, the subscription service, and I would watch Dragon Ball Super on it.
Yeah, now
I'm sure there's a lot of people who would like to do that still.
Yeah. I made a video about this a while back. A highly contentious video, a little bit controversial. Not too controversial, just a little bit. Where I complained about this. And let me know what your thoughts are on this, and then we'll move on. But I bought Dragon Ball Super Broly on Blu-ray, DVD, and digital. It was a combo pack. Digital was included in the price. It's not like a free copy or anything like that. They didn't just give you a free code. The box says digital, Blu-ray, and DVD. But the digital code was for the Funimation app. And now that the Funimation app is going away, I no longer own Dragon Ball Super Broly on digital. So I don't know what the deal was there, but I definitely think going forward they need to avoid things like that. What do you think?
Yeah, I 100% agree because that's annoying. If you're gonna make a promise like that, then it should at least be reimbursed or like I don't know. It would have just been better for them to just like I don't know, make it where you if you bought it, if you like have a way to I don't know how to explain it. Like if you buy a Razer product, you can go on Razer and put in your serial number and still get all of the things you need for it because it proves that you purchased it. And it should be the same way if you buy, if I go out and buy Broly, the movie Broly, and then I want to watch it on my computer, I should be able to go on Crunchyroll or Funimation, whatever they're offering it on, and download it from there with a code or just some way to link it to my purchase and always have it.
Yeah, they should definitely do something like that.
Haven't done that like most companies would.
Now, to be fair, I think they did make a statement like we'll look into it in the future or something like that. But when you go on the Q&A on the website, it says basically that those movies aren't going to be carried over, but you can watch them with a subscription. So I think it might be something where they're trying to sell the subscriptions. I'm not sure. I don't want to just say that's what it is. That's why I'm going to say it might be something like that. I guess we'll go ahead and wait and see on that.
Genuine said I can't say his name. Sean Schimmel is the GOAT.
Sean Schimmel.
Who's the GOAT? Who's the GOAT out of all the dub characters, all the dub voice actors?
All right, so as you know, we're here to talk about the future of Dragon Ball. I'm going to relate this directly to the future of Dragon Ball with Sean Schimmel. He is the GOAT, but he is not returning for Daima. The reason why is because he's not a kid, and he can't do kid voices. We're getting Kid Goku. Am I the only one that thought of this? Sean Schimmel is not returning for Daima. Now, there is that report that Goku is going to be an adult for the first episode, so we'll get Sean Schimmel for the first episode. If we see King Kai, he'll voice King Kai, things like that. But the GOAT is not coming back. Go ahead.
King Kai. I love his King Kai voice. That's like...
It's so transformative. It's like you never expect that voice to come out of his mouth. Go ahead.
Yeah, I never knew that it was him. When I was a kid, I never knew that the voice of King Kai was the same guy who voiced Goku. Like, I would have called you a liar if you said that to me as a kid. Genuine said, hopefully in the future, Toyotaro goes more into the Super Dragon Balls and Zalama, the creator of them, and Zalama potentially being as strong as Zeno or an angel.
That's a great comment.
I heard some stuff about that too. Yeah, like a lot of people, whenever the Super Dragon Balls came out, were really interested in their story and who made them. And I was too, personally, because it was just kind of a random thing they brought in and didn't do too much with.
Well, that's a great comment, and I'm going to relate it to Dragon Ball Daima right now because it's actually extremely relevant to what we know of Dragon Ball Daima. I was thinking about making a video on this. I still might. I'm not sure yet. But you were talking about Zalama and the Dragon Balls. If you go back to the Dragon Ball Daima trailer, you might remember this. There's a quick shot of a Namekian and a Dragon Ball. All right, now follow along with me here. I was going to save this for a video. I guess it's okay to mention this in a podcast. There was a shot of a Namekian and a Dragon Ball in the trailer, and we're going with the assumption that Daima is meant to run alongside Super, so it's set in that same continuity. No word yet on if it's like a Dragon Ball GT situation where Daima is in its own continuity. But I think at this point, it makes sense to assume that Daima is canon to Super. That being said, in Dragon Ball Super, in the Granola arc, we know that Namekians were spacefaring peoples because there's a Namekian on Granola's planet Cereal. I think his name was Monaito, and he was the caretaker of Granola. And we basically got confirmation there that they're a planet-faring species, and they have their own set of Dragon Balls there. I think it's 2 Dragon Balls that are pretty small. If you look at my profile icon, it's of Granola holding one of those small Dragon Balls. So that is confirmation there that they are a multi-planet species. My theory is they're also a multi-dimensional species because the Dragon Balls, the Super Dragon Balls, are meant to, there's some in Universe 6 and some in Universe 7. So if they were created by Zalama, who we have to assume is a Namekian, then that would mean that they are also multi-dimensional, probably. If they're multiversal, they're probably multi-dimensional. And that being said, when you look at the Daima trailer, you actually see a Namekian who is a very old Namekian. We don't know any old Namekians in Dragon Ball right now. Dragon Ball Super anime, I should say. I don't think that Monito would be in the Daima anime. They would probably save that for the Super anime if it comes back. Because we have Piccolo. He's a younger guy. Well, not a younger guy, but, he's not old. Dende is also a young guy. So we don't have any old Namekians, and we see an old Namekian in the trailer. This has led many people to believe that that's Zalama, and the Dragon Ball that we've seen sparkling is a Super Dragon Ball. And a lot of people are speculating we could be getting into the origin of the Dragon Balls with Dragon Ball Daima. So my theory was that somehow, someway, they're turned back into kids with this demon magic, and Goku has to go to basically the root of the homeworld of the Namekians in like the demon realm or something. Again, we have no information on that. It's entirely possible that there are no Namekians in the demon realm, but what was King Piccolo's name? You want to tell me what King Piccolo's name was? What did his name start with?
It was Demon King Piccolo.
Demon King Piccolo. Demon King Piccolo. And we know that he was split from Kami from the nameless Namekian, okay? We don't know where this nameless Namekian came from. But if Demon King Piccolo is cognizant of what a demon is, he has knowledge of the demon realm. Are you following me here? If he has knowledge of the demon realm, if he's the Demon King Piccolo, could this mean that the Namekians are from some sort of demon realm originally, and they spread out across the cosmos, across the multiverse, made the Super Dragon Balls? What do you think about that crazy crackpot theory? Do you think it holds any weight?
I think it definitely does, because like you said, there's so many instances of just them going out and being in random places, like Earth, for example, Granola's planet. Then there's Namek, and they've said before that Namek isn't their
Yeah, that's not the original
I'm pretty
home.
sure they've said that it's not. Yeah, it's not their original home. Yeah,
it's so probably a case of it being named after the people, same way how they did New Namek.
I always personally thought that it was like a dragon that made all the Dragon Balls, or at least maybe like the big one, the Super Dragon Balls. But I don't know.
What's he called? I think he's called Super Shinron or something. But yeah, go ahead.
I think so. But yeah, I don't know. I've always when I first saw the Super Dragon Balls, I thought it was like maybe either a Namekian who was a god, or a god that's like kind of similar to all the dragons that were in GT, just like really strong dragon people, and one of them like made all the Dragon Balls or something like that, maybe.
Yeah, for all the hate GT gets, I really liked the idea that the Dragon Balls would just be like, hey, what are you guys doing? And then just turn evil, and all the Dragon Balls become like evil people that you gotta fight. I thought that was a cool idea on its face.
One of my favorite scenes is them fighting for that Dragon Ball with Omega Shenron, and Goku just swallows it so that he can't get it. That was such a good scene.
Yeah, that's a great scene.
That's funny.
I'm not sure if there's much.
We've hit I'm not trying to rush this, and I'm just letting you know we're at an hour and 10 minutes.
Okay.
So I don't know when you were wanting to cut it, but just giving you an idea of where we're at.
Well, if you want to go...
Genuine said maybe they were part of another universe Xeno destroyed. Brandon said, I'm sorry, I said GT had more villains than Dragon Ball Super.
Yeah, that's true. GT did have more villains than Dragon Ball Super.
Yeah, I liked some of the, like, Baby. A lot of people, I feel like, didn't like Baby, but...
Baby was cool.
I don't know, Baby had a cool story, but what they did with them was kind of boring,
Baby.
I guess.
But yeah, as far as how long we'll go, if you want to, we can go like an hour and 30 minutes and then call it there, because we still got to get into Sparking Zero.
Yeah, let's start talking about Sparking Zero a little bit, honestly.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and Again, guys, if you have any questions, leave them, and we can circle back to Daima or the future of Super.
Nova from GT was barely a villain, is what Genuine just said. Nova's the gold one, right?
Yeah, he. I think it's been a while since I saw GT, but I'm pretty sure he was a villain, but then turned to good because he's the 4-star Dragon Ball dragon. So he had that special connection with Goku. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, him and Goku were like tight.
Yeah,
at one point.
I thought that was sweet. Anyway, we can relate, because we just got on a GT tangent. We can relate that to Sparking Zero, because Sparking Zero...
What if he's a playable character in Sparking Zero?
Super Saiyan 4 Goku, a playable character in Sparking Zero?
Yeah, and like GT characters in Sparking Zero. I think they should add every fucking character that they can
ever
from
made
the Dragon Ball series. Because that would just it's the only way you can make it better. Then like you gotta beat the last game's character lineup, or else it's not a good sequel. That's just my opinion.
Well, let's go ahead and
I'm just saying.
No, and I agree with you. Let's go ahead and open Pandora's box here. We're gonna go ahead and open the floodgates. Again, guys, if you have any comments, comment. We're on Sparking Zero right now if you have anything to add there. But one thing I want to say is that this is Budokai Tenkaichi 4. There was a time frame where this was announced, and we were like, Budokai Tenkaichi 4. And then the name gets revealed as Sparking Zero. A lot of people, you know what they say, some Dragon Ball fans can't read, and they thought, oh, it's... Exactly. You know, they were like, oh, it's not Budokai Tenkaichi 4. It is. This is Budokai Tenkaichi 4. Me and Adu Name, we grew up playing these games. We had a lot of fun, all of us, and... this is the continuation of those childhood memories. But there's a big but here. Budokai Tenkaichi 3 had GT characters and OG Dragon Ball characters. Right? We had Kid Goku, General Blue, King Piccolo, Orale, which was a cameo in Dragon Ball, originally a Dr. Slump character.
Chi-Chi.
What?
I said Kid Chi-Chi.
Kid Chi-Chi. Yeah, you did. Yes, they had Kid Chi-Chi as well. And then they also had Dragon Ball GT characters, you know, Super Saiyan 4 Goku, Vegeta, Gogeta, Omega Shenron, Super 17, the whole deal, baby. We have not seen a single GT character or OG Dragon Ball character in Sparking Zero. None of the trailers have showed them. It's only been Z and Super characters. I kind of assumed that we would get them eventually until I saw this comment. I saw this comment the other day, and I thought it was a great comment. They said the S in Sparking stands for Super, the Z in Zero stands for Z because we're only getting Super and Z. What do you think?
Nah, that's definitely someone stretching it.
It is kind of a stretch, but like,
think about it. Why would I don't know? They saw how good their game was, and they went this long, like making other games. For example, Xenoverse 1 and 2, they had pretty good character lineups. Like they didn't have Dragon Ball characters, but they did have some OG characters.
One thing I'll say before you continue with your point: the first Xenoverse game did not launch with GT content. I think it had GT as DLC. And then Xenoverse 2 launched with the GT content, and it did not have any GT DLC. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I think that's fine. I think charging, I don't know. It's really, it depends on the person. But, me personally, I wouldn't pay for GT DLC. I'd rather play it for free, but I can see certain people who did enjoy GT paying for it, because there's a lot of people who think Super Saiyan 4 is better than Ultra Instinct.
Super Saiyan 4 is the GOAT.
A nostalgic feeling for it. Yeah, a lot of people, that's the saying, it's the GOAT. And I agree, it's pretty badass, but I still think I like Ultra Instinct more. I don't know, maybe I'm just a nerd.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, Super Saiyan 4
Goku
isn't
where
beating
that
UI
form
Goku,
is
but he's
badass, because it takes roots from the Great Ape, and
Ape,
I think that's really
yes.
cool.
It directly ties it into the origin of the Saiyans as a species with their Uzaru form, and really ties it in together. It ties it together well.
Yeah, it makes so much sense.
I think if we do get GT characters in Sparking Zero, it'll probably be because you remember Budokai Tenkaichi 4. To be fair, they didn't have a lot of OG Dragon Ball characters, so it may be the same thing that they're going to do with Sparking Zero with GT. They may have like maybe GT Goku and GT Vegeta, and that's it. I would not like it if that's the case.
That'd be so underwhelming.
It would be underwhelming. But what's even more underwhelming is the lack of OG Dragon Ball content in Sparking Zero. We haven't seen that in any trailers either. And I'm more afraid for OG Dragon Ball content because we haven't had OG Dragon Ball content in Xenoverse, Like, have they completely abandoned the OG Dragon Ball world? Are we not getting Kid Goku as DLC? Let's circle this back to Fighters real quick. Fighter or Fighter Z, Fighters, that had Kid Goku, but it wasn't Kid Goku. It was GT Goku that did not turn Super Saiyan 4 and still used the Power Pole, or the Nyobo? That's the Japanese name of the Power Pole, the Nyoibo, I think. So, like, are they just distancing themselves from OG Dragon Ball? And if so, why? Your thoughts?
I think, personally, that they have like two choices to go with this, and that's either advertise it as something in the trailer. I think what they're doing is the reason why they haven't put it in the trailer is because if they put OG characters in the trailer and all that, they're gonna then the people playing the game or watching the trailer are gonna assume, oh, these characters are coming right off the rip, and I think they want to make money off the game. So they're gonna, like what Genuine just said, a story mode would make Sparking Zero peak. They could do certain characters are unlockable with a story mode, and then other characters are purchasable, just like Xenoverse.
Yeah.
They have a lot of DLC, and that's kind of where Xenoverse gets their money. They still come out with DLC, and it still gets bought to this day. So maybe they're gonna go with that kind of formula, charge money for DLC and like add things people want. So add, Dragon Ball DLC, adding Dragon Ball characters and so on. And they might do that, honestly, because that's how most games are with their formula,
Yeah, I want to
make money.
I want to hit on what you just said there. That's a great point. Times have changed. Budokai Tenkaichi 3, when that came out, the concept of DLC, I think, was really only relegated to PC games because this was the early 2000s. Maybe there were some games on PlayStation 2 and Xbox, maybe Xbox One, but I don't really think DLC was really a big thing until like maybe the early 2010s, where we were getting actual DLC packs and things like that.
Yeah, even Call of Duty Black Ops 1, like that's when DLC really started being crazy. Like, I remember playing that game and learning about the DLCs in it, and, that's when everything was just coming out. And even the DLCs in those games, like, they weren't crazy.
And that scares me because now we're living in the age of DLC to finish a game. Back then it felt like back then the game was finished and then we get DLC, but now it's like the game is like 70% finished and then you buy the 30% as DLC. So connecting that with Sparking Zero, like you said, we're getting a lot of Z characters in the trailers, a lot of super characters in the trailer. I'm a little afraid at this point what's going to happen is we're going to have a impressive roster of Z and super characters. I think it was like 84 slots on the trailer or something like that. But they're also like using character transformations as their own slot. So Super Saiyan Goku from Dragon Ball Super is its own slot. So I think at the end of this, if we get any GT characters or OG Dragon Ball characters in the game, it's not going to be a lot at launch. But like you said, we live in an age where they're going to come as DLC, and that's what I'm afraid of. I don't want it to be underwhelming, but that might be what happens. What do you think?
Yeah, I basically completely agree with you. I would be really disappointed if they did that, but at the same time, that's just kind of the times we live in.
Yeah.
Most games that come out are free or not finished, and the companies expect you to pay for unfinished products
Now, what I will
and things.
say,
So hopefully they aren't doing that
yeah,
with this game
yeah,
because they've never
it
been
looks
known
great.
to, to put out a Dragon Ball game that's not finished and
It
it's just completely garbage.
it looks great, and well, that's not entirely true. I don't want to say Dragon Ball The Breakers looks garbage, and it's not finished. But The Breakers, at least on launch, there was a lot of complaints that it looked like a Xenoverse 2 extra mode that they made into its own little game. This isn't a Breakers hate video or anything like that, or a hate stream. I played a little bit of Dragon Ball The Breakers. That's probably the only Dragon Ball game in the past 10 years that I thought was underwhelming. But again, that might just be because it's not my type of game. Do you know about Breakers?
Yeah, I don't know. Breakers, I feel like that's a Dead by Daylight kind of grabber. You know what I mean? Like, it's going for that kind of player base.
Yeah, it's not really my
and
cup
just
of tea.
Yeah, it's not mine either, but I liked watching people play it, but I didn't see the gameplay and think, man, I really want to play it myself.
Yeah, I played the beta and I made a little video on the beta and I bought the game and I just couldn't get into it. I bought the game for sale at like $20 and then it became free for PlayStation Plus members a couple months ago, maybe a few months ago. But
what you said though about it being I mean, it looked like an extra mode for Xenoverse 2. I agree with that. Like, they could have honestly just did that instead of making like a whole new game. Just made it like an Xenoverse 2 DLC or something.
I did like the general premise of playing as like the regular characters like Bulma and Oolong and things like that, because you don't really do that in Dragon Ball games anymore. Like, let's relate this to Sparking Zero real quick with what I just said. The original Budokai Tenkaichi 3 had those types of characters, you know? I don't know if they had Bulma or Oolong, but they had like Hercule and things like that. So moving into Sparking Zero, are we going to get Monaka? If we're doing Super and we're doing the Universe 6 versus Universe 7 tournament, they really need to flesh this thing out. If they're only going to do Z and Super at launch, story mode wise, remember Budokai Tenkaichi 3 had all the fights, or at least most of them. I think we're going to get a Monaka. What do you think?
Monaka?
Yeah, you remember Monaka, right? The world's most powerful fighter?
No, we're not going to get Monaka.
Oh, no. He was kind of forgotten. He was kind of forgotten.
Monaka was just a thing to keep Goku going for some. I don't even think they really needed to do that. You know what I mean?
I think they genuinely forgot they made the character. Because he has not appeared since then.
Did you say, who were you asking who was in the Tenkaichi 3 lineup a second ago?
Me?
Yeah, you said somebody was in it, and I started searching it up to see if they were.
Bulma and Oolong, like those weaker characters. I don't think they were there. I know Kid Chi-Chi was. I think maybe not. No, Teen Chi-Chi from Dragon Ball wasn't in it, I don't think. I know Kid Chi-Chi was. But yeah, they had like characters in Budokai Tenkaichi 3 that you wouldn't think would work as conventional in a fighting game like Dragon Ball. Like they weren't on that level, but they were still playable. You know what?
They don't have Bulma or nothing like that. Just like Chi-Chi.
Yeah. Now,
and shit.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. I thought it was cool that you could play as the farmer with a shotgun in the Breakers, but it wasn't anything that I was crazy about.
Yeah, nobody asked for that. Nobody asked to play as the farmer.
Yeah. What I do think is really cool in Sparking Zero, from what we know in the trailers and the press releases and things like that, Trunks is my favorite Dragon Ball character. I know my icon is Granola. That's just because I thought it was cool as a representative of Dragon Ball, because he's got a Dragon Ball in his hand. I figured that would be nice to display that I'm a Dragon Ball channel. But Trunks is my favorite Dragon Ball character. And it looks like in Sparking Zero, there's going to be 3 variations. There's going to be Dragon Ball Z Trunks with the melee form, Dragon Ball Z Sword Trunks, and there's going to be Dragon Ball Super Trunks. So, knowing that they put Super after somebody's name whenever there's a variation, do you think we're going to get Dragon Ball Z Broly?
That's actually a really good question. Considering he's still in Xenoverse 2, I don't know. Like it's because when I played Xenoverse 2, I noticed that they did like he's like kind of flying above the map and you can fight him, and it's the old Broly. And I don't know if they added that, like if that's been in the game for a long time, but if it's new, then it makes me feel like they would add him in. But if that's been in Xenoverse since like it came out, then maybe not, because I originally thought they added that because of the Broly movie. But maybe, maybe they want to forget the old Broly because a lot of people didn't like him after the first movie. The first movie was okay, but the continuations, I think the only reason why I enjoyed the second Broly movie so much, or in the third one, was because Goten and Trunks were in it most of the time. And they were my favorite characters to watch.
How are we doing on time?
We're at a minute or an hour 25, so we got 5 minutes.
Okay, well we can start wrapping it up now. Here's what I'll say in conclusion. This is Dragon Discourse. Dragon Discourse is the hot spot for all your Dragon Ball news and speculation. This is going to be a monthly podcast to start. That's right. We're not going to be doing a weekly podcast or anything like that because that's a big commitment right now at this moment. Because you can't...
You want to answer our last question?
Yeah, let's go ahead and answer the last question. Commenters, get your questions in now. We are finishing up. Get your questions in now. Go ahead, Iduname.
Okay. Why was Future Gohan so weak? It almost seemed like he didn't have the same potential as Super Gohan, even though Future Gohan trained for a whole year.
This is a great question. I think Future Gohan was so weak because he wasn't being true to himself. Why do I think this is? Well, he was wearing Goku's gi and he was trying to live up to the idea of his father. All of his friends were dead and he felt like there wasn't much left to fight for, but he was still fighting nonetheless. I think there's a good point to be made that this is an alternate timeline, so maybe the genetics aren't the exact same, because I will get to that point. Future Gohan should have been more powerful. I think Future Gohan should have been more powerful, definitely, for sure. I understand that perspective. But when you're breaking it down on a character-specific level, Future Gohan is not our Gohan, just like Future Trunks is not our Trunks. They had very different experiences. So I think Future Gohan also didn't have the advantage of having his potential awakened by Elder Kai. There's just a lot of variations there. I do think Future Gohan went out like a G. As for why, I don't know specifically why he doesn't have that same skill cap as our Gohan does. But again, honestly, Future Gohan's cool, but I think he served his role in Trunks' story well enough. What do you think, Iduname?
Yeah, I agree. They did. If they would have changed anything for Future Gohan, I feel like it would have ruined Trunks' whole story. And I like, obviously that's one of like the most saddest scenes a lot of OGs think of is, Trunks' story, Future Trunks' story, because it really is hard. Yeah, what he went through, and like as somebody who is an adult and can just think about that, he's definitely one of the coolest characters just from where he was brought up, and he's not like evil or anything. A lot of people would turn evil after that, and he is like still a badass hero trying to protect his planet. I mean, no matter what the fuck.
He's the GOAT. He's the GOAT.
And tries to attack him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. Straight up.
In another stream, when we have more time, I would love to get into the Zamasu arc ending the way it did and things like that. But we do need to wrap things up right now. Who was that left that comment?
Genuine.
Thank you for the genuinely great comments today. They've been great. So yeah, like I said, in conclusion, this is going to be a monthly series. That's mainly because, let's just say, you can't run on fumes every week if there's not a lot of Dragon Ball news, and there's not, We could talk about a Sparking Zero trailer, but talking about it for an hour wouldn't be the best. So I think it's just going to be a monthly series for now. And we'll definitely be breaking down these super chapters, doing reviews on those every month. And yeah, we'll just go from there. So, Iduname, do you have anything you want to say in conclusion?
I'm just glad you invited me here. Can't wait to keep doing it. And I hope everybody enjoyed the podcast. Hopefully we weren't too boring. I think we did a great job. I think it was a good podcast.
I think we had a nice conversation.
I'm excited to keep doing it.
Yeah, it's a monthly thing, but it's going to be a fun ride. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching the podcast. This is going to be left up. It's not going to be like privated or unlisted for members or anything like that. This is going to be mainly the only thing we're doing on the live section of the channel. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Peace off.